Welcome to Voices of Global Freedom Radio. We are broadcasting from San Diego, California, Saturday, June the 13th, 2015. This is Backpack. We bring our patriotic conservative audience news you can use and actionable tactics, methods, and strategies to survive and thrive in these dangerous, troubled times. Confidential tips and information, call 619-354-3665. We are proud to be syndicated with the popular radio networks, the Spark Radio Network, K98 Talk, Leading Edge Radio Network, Reach Out America Radio, Roar Restoration of America Radio, and LibertyTalk.fm networks. This is Backpack. We want to tell you about a brave American hero, the Magnified View Voices of Global Freedom Patriotic Hero Award. We are honored and privileged to work with Major General Paul E. Vallely, United States Army retired, exposes multiple Islamic jihadist terrorist threats to America's homeland. He graduated United States Military Academy at West Point and was commissioned in the Army in 1961, serving a distinguished career for 32 years. He is a military analyst on television and radio, and he is the chairman of Stand Up America, a network of patriotic Americans that collects, analyzes, and evaluates intelligence for the safety and security of America. Please have a look at standupamericaus.org. I say again, www.standupamericaus.org. Over to you, Yoda.
We are thrilled to have the good general on. I'll be really brief. He's back in my day. It was an anathema to have a Ranger or even airborne background. The Pentagon wanted tanks, infantry, and artillery. Somehow the good general raised to these lofty heights back in the day, despite the Pentagon posture. Without further ado, welcome, good general.
Well, thank you, Yoda. I'm very happy to, number one, be invited. Number two, to be a guest today, and look forward to doing some future shows with you. I just wanted to say the pronunciation of my last name is Vallely, so I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew it's Vallely. But thank you again, and we'll be happy to spend some time today and talk about some of the major issues facing the United States of America and our great republic.
Backpack here, General, has assembled a large audience through his extreme social media skills. We've got a lot of people eager to hear from you. I expect our emails and chat room will light up. Sir, it's your podium. We don't take ourselves in talk radio serious. So anything you'd like to talk about, you have an audience eager to hear you. If
well,
you'd
I think
like.
number one, sure, thank you. Do you want to ask a question, or you just want me to go ahead and give an overview here?
No, sir, an overview would be appreciated.
Well, the number of interviews I've had, especially over the last 30 days on TV and radio, and some of the articles I've been able to write, really focuses on America being at a crossroads and looking to the future of looking at today and looking at tomorrow. Are we, in fact, on a track for national suicide? I keep watching, like many Americans, the news in the morning, and it's very frustrating when it seems things are getting worse and worse each day, even with the stock market, the economy, our relationships in the world, our government, our lack of resolve when we send our troops into battle, of having a sound strategy for victory. And so when you look across the broad spectrum of our federal government today, it seems to be, Yoda, broken. Legislative branch appears to be broken. Executive branch we know is, and the judicial system. And if it wasn't for the private sector and some of our great states out there, like Texas, that are standing up and holding America together. So I challenge all Americans to stand up today and join us at Stand Up America, and let's get this country back on track for the future of our children and our grandchildren. because we are a tremendous country with tremendous assets. But like any peoples, if you study history, you've got to have great leadership. You've got to have positive leadership. You have to have positive role models, not only in government, but in our families. And we even appear through the population to have a cultural decline. But we're holding together, and we're not going to fall apart, because many of us, like you and me, we're going to stand up, and we're going to make sure we restore this republic. So with that, we can take questions or go from there.
You've already lit up our emails. I can't read them fast enough. I think there's a bit of smoke coming out of my computer. What do you see, sir, as the current real threats to us in the homeland?
Well, I said this in a talk. The federal government, to me, is the biggest threat to the future of America. You can't have a broken federal government. You can't have a partisan politics guide this country. And as I've passed on to some of our congressional people, our new congressman from Montana, Congressman Ryan Zinke, who is a Navy SEAL, he was SEAL Team 6, and I told Ryan, I said, when you get back there in Washington, and by the way, he's doing a great job, I said, make sure you tell everybody that you're an American first. You're an American before you're a Republican. You're an American before you're a Democrat or independent or libertarian. And that you stand by our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. And you don't want no United Nations or world order trying to influence this country and change our country, because we're the greatest republic and democracy that's ever existed in the history of the world. And so it takes focus, it takes resolve of all the people to stand up and ensure that we preserve this country today and tomorrow, again, for our children and grandchildren. Next threat, of course, after that is the external threats from the likes of Iran, Russia, China, ISIS, the growing Caliphate across the Middle East now, extending into Western Europe and into the United States, where we have cells, radical Islamic cells that are coming across our border. They've tied in with the drug cartels, for example. And we have the great evil of the world, Tehran, seeking nuclear capability and supporting international radical Islam and terrorism. So those are the biggest threats. I think the third threat may be the decay of our culture to a degree, and lack of good parenting in this country, though we have a lot of great parents. But certainly when you look at the inner cities and you look at the black communities and what I call the New Age Hispanic communities, like in Los Angeles, the rise of crime, the number of black-on-black deaths that we see now, setting all new records this year, even after Ferguson and what's happened in Baltimore. So those, to me, are the four major threats facing America.
Grab a hold of one of those, sir, and go with it, if you will. We know that you're sending teams to the Middle East, to Iraq. What's going on with that, sir? Well,
I'm the only one that's been inside Syria within the last 2.5 years. I went in with 400 members of the Free Syrian Army, where we vetted out who to support and not support over there. I was the first one to head a delegation to Egypt to meet General al-Sisi before he became president. I have had 2 trips to Egypt with our teams. So 5 times in the Middle East, say in the last 3 years. So we have on-the-ground real-world experience with our intel teams and operational teams that work for me, and we go out and gather intelligence. When I was in Syria a few years ago, Al-Qaeda just started to come in. Nobody talked of ISIS. Nobody even mentioned that word. And all of a sudden, they bloom and take over what they have, a great part, almost half of Syria or more, almost half of Iraq or more. And now we have a complete lack of resolve in the Middle East, other than General Abdullah of Jordan and General al-Sisi of Egypt. So the inability of us to put together any kind of a coalition to defeat ISIS over there, and then our own lack of strategy, sending out fighter planes that are coming back with their loads and not bombing the convoys and that ISIS has. You know, they're taking 10 to 12 vehicles a day, tankers from northern Iraq to the black market in Turkey. And I've been in that area. It's mostly all desert, open area. And the United States in its strategy, sending out our fighter pilots and with tremendously restrictive rules of engagement, we're not taking those convoys out. And so that's why when you see all the narrative on television and you see the analysis being done, this goes directly back to the White House. Even the Pentagon's getting frustrated now because they have provided Obama strategies how to win. But Obama's not a winner. He doesn't want to win. He likes winning elections, and that's it. So we'll take it from there.
This is Backpack and Yoda, Voices of Global Freedom Magnified View. We just got a question from Lady Michelle. She's in the chat room. She wants to say thank you for all your service, General Vallely, through all the decades of Vallely. Sorry, and she says Obama the other day blamed the Pentagon for his lack of a strategy. What is your opinion on that?
Well, the Pentagon, for all the threats to America, they conduct what they call contingency operation plans. And then when the threat gets serious enough, they then, throughout the command, such as Central Command, Special Operations Command, they issue and they prepare what they call an op plan, an operational order. And that operational order then is directed to take out those threats of the enemy to the United States. Now, I know they do that. I know they have them. I've been briefed on them. So they have submitted strategies to the White House regarding our enemies. But this president, to me, is a coward. He has not the courage to fight. He hides himself in the White House and on the golf course, as we've seen. And he did get out and go over to the halls of Congress last week, where he lost that vote earlier on the trade agreement. So that's the situation between the White House and the Defense Department.
What do you think? I know it's hard to get into his weird head. What do you see his motivation for not fighting ISIS?
Well, he's dedicated himself to his base that elected him when he came in, that he was going to end all the wars, and that through a matter of engagement throughout the world, that America would become stronger and we would have more friends. And of course, he just said 2 weeks ago, we're more secure than we've ever been, and America is the most respected country in the world because of me, Obama. Well, of course, that's all narrative rhetoric. That's what I call living in the twilight zone. And so his narrative doesn't match realities. It's an interesting thing. When I was in Egypt, I was sitting with General al-Sisi, and he was so upset with the United States, as the staff was, because the United States and the State Department supported our bitter enemy, the Muslim Brotherhood, who supports all of these radical Islamic activities throughout the world. And he said, you know, we in Egypt now have to look through the prism of reality. He said, it appears the leaders of America now look through the prism of politics. Everything you seem to do in America has political ramifications. You don't look at the reality of what's happening. That's how the Middle East sees the United States now. Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is amazing. One question we got from Seattle, Washington, they want to know, now that ISIS is running in the Yemen Peninsula, what are they going to attack Saudi Arabia?
Well, they already have. They did. They launched some missiles in there last week in southern Saudi Arabia. The Saudis are pounding the Houthis down there in Yemen. They have been for the last 3 weeks very hard with airstrikes. they've committed a number of brigades and battalions of the Saudi Royal Armed Forces down there to the border. General al-Sisi also has sent elements of the Egyptian army south along the Red Sea there on Yemen to protect the Suez Canal. Excuse me. So Saudi Arabia, working now in unison with Egypt, are trying to defeat and neutralize the efforts of the Houthis in Yemen.
So where do you see all of this going? One of the grand prizes of ISIS is to take Mecca and Medina and be a global caliphate. Do you see that happening?
That's their objective, but it's up to the countries like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, to take a stand and to make sure that ISIS is defeated. And so they've got to extend more efforts to defeat ISIS over there. And surely we can be their ally, providing sophisticated air support, naval support to do that. I guarantee if you put General Boykin and General McInerney and I in charge, we would defeat ISIS in about 30 days.
Wow.
In fact, I commented that on another show we were on recently. What's your crystal ball actually intel tell you? How far might ISIS go in the next 18 months, coincidental with Obama doing virtually nothing?
Well, I would say if they're not stopped to where they are in their tracks in the next 90 days, they're going to extend themselves already with the Taliban in Afghanistan, in northern Africa. They'll extend down, of course, where they are now in Nigeria and some of the other Somalia and some of the other countries in North Africa. And that's the Caliphate, or what they call the Levant, goes all the way from Egypt, basically the Sinai, all the way up to the borders of Turkey. Now, once that Caliphate is secured in the Middle East, they can do that in the next 18 months, but these countries have got to stand up to defeat them. They've got to put their armed forces on the ground. The Saudis do, the Jordanians do, and the Turks also have to be a part of this, because they're one of the strongest countries over there. And they've got to set back Erdogan, who's the president of Turkey, because he tends to be trying to shift Turkey to be an radical Islamic state. And so it's a mismatch. It's a chessboard over there. The United States can participate if we had a strategy and could bring these countries together. Then, of course, the radical Islamic Caliphate will then not happen.
Where do you see, we've got a lot of questions, Backpack's running the board here and scratching his head and his tummy at the same time. Where do you see this ridiculous Iran thing going, General?
Well, Iran, from the information I got, by the way, they're having the big rally in Paris, France this weekend of the Iranian opposition. We've got Giuliani over there and a number of other Americans. I usually go to it. They have almost 25,000 have turned out in the rally against Iran. So I can see that what is going to occur is that with Iran, they're going to continue to develop their nuclear program. But the point is, I think they already have a nuclear capability. And that capability has been tested out by their friends, the North Koreans, because the North Koreans have been basically permitted to conduct all the tests they want to, from delivery systems to guidance systems to warhead technology. Now, I myself feel that Iran already has the nuclear capability. And then they'll continue to support Assad in Syria. And, of course, they're enemies of ISIS. So Iran, with General Suleiman is his name, he is the head of the Revolutionary Guard over there, working with the Iraqi government as well as the Syrian government.
We're just letting this happen, aren't we? We're sitting back.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And the other countries are letting it happen. Not only us, but where's Germany? Where's Italy and France? Great Britain? Where's Spain? Where's Turkey? It's just not a U.S. deal here, but it appears in the world, unless there's U.S. leadership in taking on these major threats in the global, I would call global threats, then we don't see anybody else taking charge. I was happy to see King Abdullah do what he did in Jordan, where he sent out his fighters after one of his pilots was burned to death. And also now the Saudis taking action against the Houthis in Yemen. So there is some hope there, because they do have people that can fight. They've got Air Force, they've got ground forces, and naval forces. But they all have to stand up now, along with the United States and others.
We just got a question out of Oklahoma City. They want to know, with Israel, what are your predictions? What's Israel going to have to do in the next coming days?
Well, I've said for the last several years that Israel should have taken out some 75 different targets inside Iran, to include the 8 or 10 nuclear facility sites, but they should also be taking out the Navy and their missile sites. And Israel has a plan to do that. They've exercised it. They know that F-16s can reach over there. The Saudis have given them air landing rights in Saudi Arabia if they hit Iran. But again, politics in Israel, much like in the United States to a degree, they haven't been able to pull the trigger. And I've been encouraging them to do that, because Iran must be stopped. They are the major threat of the Middle East, and the support of the global caliphate.
Well, if you let it go on and on, of course, sir, it gets worse, Backpacks generated a lot of questions here about our border. We work on the border with law enforcement, and recently we personally saw an ISIS flag and some literature in Arabic captured on our side of the border. We're getting a lot of questions on your opinion about the border, sir.
Well, we wrote a paper, it's almost 2 years now ago, on the border, and our position was, even 2 years ago, that we can't be on the defensive on the Mexican border. So what we recommended that we create a 20-kilometer no-go zone inside Mexico along that whole border area. And then we put really support behind good intelligence operations. We instruct our special operations forces to be positioned in places like Fort Hood, Texas, Fort Bliss, Camp Pendleton, to be able to launch operations against any enemy threats that are within that 20-kilometer no-go zone. So I'm of the opinion we just can't be putting up fences and borders and all of that and restrict this when you have a White House that won't even enforce the current laws. That if I was president, I would create a 20-kilometer no-go zone. That would also protect a lot of the illegal immigrants that have been passing through there, of course, illegally, and with the children and so on. So if we don't, and we've done this before, we did it in Iran, basically created a no-go zone between North Korea and South Korea. So all of this has been done previously, so I think that's what we need to do. And you tell the Mexican government, if they don't stop the flow, and the rest of the Central American countries, that their foreign aid will be cut off by 5 o'clock tomorrow. And so that's the character that you need, the General Patton approach, to protect America. And so I say we've got to have an offense, because that's what will win and be victorious. You can only defend so long, and that's what we've been doing. We've been on the defensive on the border.
Well, I wouldn't dare tell you that you can't win a defensive war. We work with the Border Patrol and other agencies. We've got a couple of friends that are afraid to go home, after work, that they've caught some disease that we virtually eliminated 10 years ago. So our heroes in the Border Patrol are staying in hotels till their next shift. Backpack.
We're calling back the good general. Looks like call drop.
I got it. We got it.
So they're saying
your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
got a voicemail.
406-890.
Well, we will continue. I want to block out that number, of course.
Okay.
We will continue to try to reach the good general. Sorry, audience. Stuff happens with technology.
Yeah, we can land a man on the moon, but we can't make the cell phones work.
Well said. Well said. He sure lit up the board, hadn't he?
Yeah, we're getting questions.
Sorry, we got disconnected.
Backpack just said, what did you say, Backpack?
We can land a man on the moon, but we can't get these cell phones to work. So we were talking about the border.
I'm out of range, I think, gentlemen. I'm going to have to end the interview here. End zone out here in Montana, but I look forward to coming back on with you when we can do a little longer show.
General, we'll communicate with you off air. You have truly lit up the board. We've never seen the likes of this, but Backpack promoted it. Tell our fine audience, please, how to reach you and your organization again. General?
I think we're out of cell phone range. Well,
there we go.
We'll
what
go.
An interview, huh? Back
Yeah, well, we got a lot of updates that we're not hearing on the lamestream media, and that's what Voices of Global Freedom is all about.
As our sister magazine, really the parent, magnifiedview.com, as the founding editor-in-chief, John Arama, says, we analyze news people can use. We also set ourselves apart. We distinguish ourselves in the magazine and on air by providing actionable methods, tactics, strategies to survive in these troubled times. We're bringing peace of mind, actually, to patriots. There are 22 million veterans and their families. There are 800,000 hardworking cops, men and women. There are people like the good general, though fewer exactly like him. And I'm optimistic that we're going to pull out of this. What say you, Backpack?
Yeah, I always try to keep all of this in perspective and realize that we have a lot of good working people, and my takeaways are they will try to do the best to honor the Constitution and get us back to where we need to be.
There you go. Can you find in your technology there, can you find Mr. Azuli, the guy that's in hiding now? He's sitting somewhere in Europe. He offered the Brotherhood and CARE $1 million to prove anything he says wrong. They haven't been able or had the nerve to take him up on it yet. Can you find his summary? You're running it on YouTube. Can you find his summary of what really Islam is somehow? Yeah,
we will be playing that for our guests. We also do interviews that are breaking on youtube.com/Roy Dan Barron. You can check out a lot of YouTubes that are going on there. But we're looking for the Razuli one that has really taken off. It's gotten thousands and thousands of views.
It really depicts Islam, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does a great job of depicting Islam and really says it how it is. It's the truth and the facts. It's gotten huge audience approval. It's about a 5-minute. Without further ado, we'll go ahead and play that.
Go, bro.
Please forward a link to this video so that people may learn the basics of Islam. And please keep in mind that the term Islamophobia is an oxymoron, since having a phobia means having an irrational fear. Fearing Islam, which wants 80% of humanity enslaved or exterminated, is totally rational, and hence cannot possibly be called a phobia. This video is not limited to any one religion, but the following is true. The shoe bomber was a Muslim. The Beltway snipers were Muslims. The Fort Hood shooter was a Muslim. The underwear bomber was a Muslim. The USS Cole bombers were Muslims. The Madrid train bombers were Muslims. The Valley nightclub bombers were Muslims. The London subway bombers were Muslims. The Moscow theater attackers were Muslims. The Boston Marathon bombers were Muslims. The Pan Am Flight number 93 bombers were Muslims. The Air France Entebbe hijackers were Muslims. The Iranian embassy takeover was by Muslims. The Beirut U.S. embassy bombers were Muslims. The Libyan U.S. embassy attack was by Muslims. The Buenos Aires suicide bombers were Muslims. The Israeli Olympic team attackers were Muslims. The Kenyan U.S. embassy bombers were Muslims. The Saudi Khobar Towers bombers were Muslims. The Beirut Marine Barracks bombers were Muslims. The Beshan Russian school attackers were Muslims. The First World Trade Center bombers were Muslims. The Bombay Mumbai India attackers were Muslims. The Achille Lauro cruise ship hijackers were Muslims. The Nairobi, Kenya shopping mall killers were Muslims. The September 11th, 2001 airline hijackers were Muslims. The Sydney, Australia Mint Cafe kidnapper was a Muslim. The Peshawar Pakistani school children killers were Muslims. Think of it. Hindus living with Jews, no problem. Baha'is living with Jews, no problem. Jews living with atheists, no problem. Sikhs living with Hindus, no problem. Hindus living with Baha'is, no problem. Christians living with Jews, no problem. Jews living with Buddhists, no problem. Shintos living with atheists, no problem. Buddhists living with Sikhs, no problem. Baha'is living with Christians, no problem. Buddhists living with Shintos, no problem. Buddhists living with Hindus, no problem. Hindus living with Christians, only a rare problem. Atheists living with Buddhists, no problem. Confucians living with Hindus, no problem. Atheists living with Confucians, no problem. Muslims living with Jews, problem. Muslims living with Sikhs, problem. Muslims living with Hindus, problem. Muslims living with Baha'is, problem. Muslims living with Shintos, problem. Muslims living with Buddhists, problem. Muslims living with Christians, problem. Muslims living with Muslims, very big problem. So this led to, they're not happy in Gaza. They're not happy in Egypt. They're not happy in Libya. They're not happy in Iran. They're not happy in Iraq. They're not happy in Yemen. They're not happy in Pakistan. They're not happy in Syria. They're not happy in Lebanon. They're not happy in Nigeria. They're not happy in Kenya. They're not happy in Sudan. They're not happy in Morocco. And they're not happy in Afghanistan. So where are they happy? They're happy in Australia. They're happy in Belgium. They're happy in France. They're happy in Holland. They're happy in Italy. They're happy in Germany. They're happy in Spain. They're happy in Sweden. They're happy in Denmark. They're happy in the USA and Canada. They're happy in Norway and India. They're very happy in England. Loads of welfare benefits. They're happy in almost every country that is not Islamic. And who do they blame? Not Islam. Not their leadership. Not themselves. They blame the countries they are happy in. And they want to change the countries they're happy in to be like the countries they came from where they were unhappy. Islamic Jihad, an Islamic terror organization. ISIS, an Islamic terror organization. Al-Qaeda, an Islamic terror organization. Taliban, an Islamic terror organization. Boko Haram, an Islamic terror organization. Al-Nusra, an Islamic terror organization. Abu Sayyaf, an Islamic terror organization. Al-Badr, an Islamic terror organization. Muslim Brotherhood, an Islamic terror organization. Lashkar-e-Taiba, an Islamic terror organization. Ansaru, an Islamic terror organization. Jama'ah Islamiyah, an Islamic terror organization. Abdullah Azam Brigades, an Islamic terror organization. Al-Shabaab Somalia, an Islamic terror organization. And this is just scratching the surface on Islamic terrorism. There are more, lots more. Please forward a link to this video to help spread the word that virtually all terrorism today throughout the world is Islamic, and risk being called a hate monger for telling the truth about Islamic hate mongers. Thank you from author IQ Al-Rasuli.
Backpack.
What a great...
I traveled the North Africa from Morocco through Egypt, 3,000 miles. I lived throughout the Arabian Peninsula. I was in
terror training camps are only...
I was in Turkey when the leading newspaper in English, Below the Fold, had a black box in which were Americans and Europeans kidnapped and murdered that day by Muslims. As I profess, brother, you can't be a Muslim with a small m. You can be a Catholic with a small c. You can take your mother to Easter and forget about church the rest of the year. You can be a Presbyterian. You can be a Methodist. You can be a Baptist. You cannot be a Muslim. They face Mecca 5 times a day, praying out of the Quran, which clearly, indisputably, calls for the recruitment, the proselytization of infidels, that's you and I and our audience, or killing us. It's working now, as a good general pointed out, and congratulations to you, partner Backpack, for aligning us with the good general. Quite an appearance. We want to stay with him in the future.
Yeah, we're excited. We just got a call, our area code 956. Welcome to Voices of Global Freedom. Do you have questions or comments?
Hi, my name is my name is Kelly Gordon. I live down in McAllen, Texas. I'm right across the river from Reynosa, Mexico.
Well, welcome to Voices. Do you have questions or comments?
Well, actually, I wasn't expecting to be on the call. I was unable to find you online, so I called your number. One of my friends contacted me and told me to listen into the show, so that's what I'm doing.
Well, thank you so much.
Comments? Yeah, I've got lots of questions and comments. I guess we could go ahead and start with, my main concern is the border situation. And I've been complaining for almost 2 years that we are being invaded at a rate of, for a while, it was about 1,400 a day just here, and we've got processing facilities for 250. So our border patrolmen are being overwhelmed. And I'm not a military person or anything, but you know, I'm a pretty sharp gal, and I see what's happening is they're sending large groups of women, children, and elderly folk through one corridor, tying up our border patrolmen. While our border patrolmen are busy making peanut butter sandwiches and changing dirty illegal diapers, we got the really bad guys, the soldiers, are coming in at a different location. Does that make sense?
You are spot on, gal. We work closely with the Border Patrol, and it's exactly as you say. We often broadcast from an undisclosed location on the border. How close are you?
I'm concerned about our border patrolmen because they are in a lot of danger. And, you know, it's only kids, it's only women. You know, I'm not really concerned. If I was a mom living over in Reynosa, I'd want to get across the river too, because Reynosa is a scary place to be. But we've got jihads coming across the border, okay? Our border patrolmen are being told to document Middle Easterners as Mexicans. And again, it's not even the Mexicans that are coming across. We've got them coming up from Central and South America, the worst of the worst. We are already heavily infiltrated.
We saw an ISIS flag recently on our side of the border. For our audience benefit, how close are you to the border?
I don't know, I'm less than 10 miles from Reynosa. I'm about an hour west of Brownsville.
Pretty close in a bad area.
I'm in Hidalgo County.
Okay. We've been there and done that. Well, you're spot on, caller. What else did you want to say? We're glad to hear from you and want to hear from you in future shows.
Oh, well, I like I said, I just got wind that you guys were on, and I was wanting to hear what you guys had to say. I understood you guys, there's no Muslim with a little M. As far as I'm concerned, anyone that follows Muhammad is my enemy, because they cannot be trusted. As Christians, we are taught to tell the truth. As Muslims, they are taught to lie. My opinion of Islam is that it is not a religion. It is a political theory of conquest. by any means possible. And lying is just fine. But yes, we are heavily infiltrated already. Texas is in bad shape.
I'd like Backpack to tell you about a thing he uncovered. It's in our magnifiedyview.com magazine. Take a look at that and share that with your friends. Backpack, tell the fine caller in our audience about the terrorist training camps in some detail.
We have a website that's really getting hundreds of thousands of views. It's called www.terrorcamps.com. Please take a look at it. It's a consortium of a lot of emails from Pamela Geller and Christian Action Network, a lot of Christians working really hard to expose them, and they're trying to raise a lot more. We worked with National Security Advisor Ryan Moore on this as well, is that they're not able to do reports because Obama calls them Islam. They call them communal living instead of being able to use the words Islam and terror. He's preventing a lot of these terror camps, but we report at least 35. But now we're seeing that ISIS in all 50 states, including Texas, a lot, like what you were seeing ISIS flags in Texas on the border. So what's happening is
they openly admit that
the terror camps are actually they're going in and doing small arms fire training and blowing up buses, and they're doing a lot of training on how to do jihad, and they're in rural communities away from other areas. And one of our close friends who lives right near Islamburg, New York, which is Catskills in New York, has reported they celebrate 9/11. You can hear firearms going off, and all the people around are scared of Islamburg, New York, which is the corporate headquarters of all these terror camps in the United States. So great to have you on. I want to also report that Lady Michelle in the chat room, she said Islam means submission, and Islam is not a religion. It is a totalitarian ideology masquerading as a religion. I would also add it's a cult as well. Thank you, Lady Michelle. She's been really active today. We want to thank her a lot for being on. We have another caller, area code 509. Area code 509, if you want to speak your mind. Welcome to Voices of Global Freedom.
Oh, hello. Didn't realize I was in the queue.
Yeah, thank you for the call. Please feel free to speak your mind and ask questions.
Well, actually, I just called to listen. General Vallely is going to be on, I believe.
He was on earlier today. We covered a lot of territory with that. We were just talking about the U.S.-Mexican border, and what are your thoughts?
What are my thoughts? Well, I believe that the feds, I don't even recognize the feds as being legitimate anymore, but the Texas militia, I'm kind of surprised they're not on that border sealing it up.
It's hard, really hard to do that. Where are you calling from, brother?
I'm in Southern California.
We are too. We are San Diego oriented. We're neighbors. Glad you called. Where do you see it going? Look in your crystal ball. Tell us what you're seeing in the next 3 months, 6 months, a year.
Oh, as far as Texas or the Southwest in general?
Southwest in general.
I believe by late summer, there's a very strong likelihood that we may be in a shooting war in this country. I believe between the provocative actions of the oligarchy, what I call the oligarchy, not the federal government, but the provocative actions that I see in Jade Helm, as well as the martial array that is being deployed around the country, nothing good is going to come from that. This is the largest deployment of military assets on American soil since the Civil War.
We get a lot of mixed opinions about that. On the one hand, the military has to train, and on the other hand, they're training too much. We haven't voted yet. What do you do for a living, brother?
Oh, actually, I'm a writer. I write a blog on commonsensetome.com.
Say it again so the audience hears it.
commonsensetome.com.
I've
the
seen
name of my blog.
I've seen your blog. It's quite a good one. You do a good job with that. How'd you find out about us?
Actually, I was chatting online with Kelly Gordon, and she got a message from a friend of hers that this show was on, and General Vallely was going to be on, but so that's basically how I heard about you. I was on Facebook at the time.
We had him on a brief 35 minutes or so. You can check with archives. Backpack here will have it on archives. We're joined forces with the good general. We're going to have him on a scheduled basis now. Have you heard of General Adina?
Pardon?
Have you heard of General Adina?
No, I'm not sure if I have or not. I'd probably know if I saw his name in text.
Yeah, Backpack can tell you about him.
We've had him on frequently, and he's talking about helping the Kurds a lot overseas. And unfortunately, Obama is not into the helping the Kurds. He's been, as we've seen, his actions just aren't, well, multiple ways that he's just dropping the ball when it comes to foreign policy. But General Adina is a great guy. He was embedded with the Kurds for over a year. He fought with them, and he was brothers and sisters with them, and they're really struggling. They don't have the firepower that they need to be getting, and that's part of what we're trying to get attention out to, is that the Kurds are kind of like the forgotten stepchild in the Middle East, so to speak. Have you written some blogs about what's going on in the Middle East?
No, most of my focus has been on the American Republic. I'm sympathetic as far as to what's happening globally, and I believe that once we resolve the issues with the American Republic, that we need to be more assertive for freedom in other parts of the world. But right now, I really see, if America falls, then in my opinion, all hope of defeating the oligarchy and restoring liberty to the world is going to die with her. So my main priority is on the American Republic.
Send us an email at yoda@magnifiedview.com, yoda@magnifiedview.com. We'll see about getting your blog up on the Magnified View. It's our sister magazine is a millions visitor magazine. That'll get you out there a lot.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I come
Sorry,
this last March. This last March, things kind of coalesced for me. I've been at this for over 4 decades now, and it just I don't know why. I can only attribute it to God Himself, that He just allowed me to see the picture. Because in March, a lot of dots that I just never could connect before suddenly just came together, and now I understand more than ever what is happening in the Republic. So that's my blog is mainly focused on that right now. But I do sense very strongly that America, we need to become that, as Ronald Reagan had stated, we need to once again become that shining light on the hill, that beacon of liberty for the world. And we haven't been in a very, very long time.
As Backpack often says, we've got 22 million veterans and their families. We've got 800,000 cops. We've got about half that in firefighters and guys like you. We're confident when it gets bad enough that the good guys will stand up. Regrettably, our history is that it's got to get bad enough.
Yeah,
over to you.
And I regret that, because the longer we hold off in engaging the enemy in our country, the more forces that they're going to have deployed against our people in our own communities, and the bloodbath is going to be tremendous. The longer we wait to engage the enemy, the stronger that enemy is going to be within our communities, and it's not going to be a pretty picture when it finally comes down.
As the good general agreed on the show today, you can't win a war defensively.
No.
You can hold out for a while and you can employ modern defense measures, but you can't win it that way.
So what are the takeaways from your blog that you want our audience to hear?
Well, probably the main thing that coalesced for me is the fact that since March 27th, 1861, when Congress adjourned sine die, the Constitution that was ratified in 1789, along with the Bill of Rights and the amendments up to the 13th Amendment, were set aside by Congress. Well, actually, it became moot because Congress ceased to be a lawful body as of that date. And Abraham Lincoln was killed before he could restore the Constitution to its place, if he ever intended to, which I'm not sure that he was. And what is truly a fact is that the Constitution and Bill of Rights that everybody assumes that we have been under has not been enforced since that time. The illusion of constitutional government has existed, but it has been increasingly opaque until today. You can almost see for sure that the oligarchy that took control after the war is in firm control at this time. They have no pretense today since the Patriot Act. An act, by the way, if we were under constitutional rule, an act of Congress does not supersede the Bill of Rights. So the evidence of the actions of Congress and the federal government is proving that the Constitution has not been enforced for a very long time. And I regret to say that because I actually saw the evidence of it back in the late 90s. And I don't know if it's the normalcy bias or the cognitive dissonance or whatever the reason was. I think mentally I refused to see the evidence at that time. But like I said, in March, everything just came together and it became vividly clear. So my blog is now, especially since March, is reflecting the true state of the Republic and who's actually in control and what we must do to remove that control and restore the Republic. I have a plan that I wrote called a plan of action, which I believe that if it was implemented at the local level across the country, would minimize conflict and restore the Constitution back to its rightful place in pretty short order if the people adopted it.
Well, we're delighted you came on with us. Stick with us. Send that email, yoda@magnifiedview.com.
Well, can you do me a favor? Because I don't have a pen or anything with me. I'm not at my computer right now. Could you? My email is thomas.mick@hotmail.com.
All right, say that once more.
Thomas.mick, M-I-C-K, @hotmail.com.
We've got it.
Great.
Well, I hope we can work together, Tom. You sound like a great guy and a patriot.
Yeah, thank you for the call. You're welcome to stay on the line and hear more of the show as we get more callers. We're expecting Keith Miger, as a well-known conservative talk show host, to be calling in here in a little bit. Thank you. We want to say a lot of thanks to Lady Michelle. She's been really giving us a lot of encouragement and support. And I'm making sure and going over her comments. Getting back to Texas area, she's been to McAllen. She wanted to make some statements about that. So McAllen, Texas, I'm trying to scroll up here. Let's see. She was talking about she's been to McAllen, and one of her best friends is a Border Patrol agent retired out of McAllen. And so she knows the area well. She's seen pictures of McAllen today. It looks much, much different than in the early 80s. We still have Kelly. Kelly, have you seen major differences in McAllen, Texas, between the 80s and 2015?
Well, I've only been here 10 years. Actually, it's very quiet here. It's almost creepy. You step out the door and you cannot tell there is anything wrong. What they're doing is, and I've been watching this, they are converting some of the industrial part of the city, which is south, closest to the border, converting those into holding facilities. The other thing they're doing is they're keeping the illegals as far out of McAllen, out of the city as they can, at which time then they put them on buses and move them north, is what I'm seeing. The other thing is they're being flown right over our heads. They're not even coming across our border. They don't have to come through McAllen. They just fly right on over to wherever their destination is.
Traditionally, the Border Patrol has been the most shot at of all U.S. law enforcement. Recently, they've been ordered to retreat if they're fired upon. What this has caused is a lot of the smugglers, human and drugs, who weren't armed, know now that the Border Patrol is ordered to retreat, so they're all carrying arms now that they weren't before. So what a stupid policy that is.
Yeah, what great callers we've had. Lady Michelle, she's just said they're being flown from their home countries into the United States by the United States government, and they're specifically dumping them into flyover country areas. So she's been really good. And thank you, Lady Michelle. It's great having you in the chat room. You're welcome to call in 646-652-4667. She mentions also as other parts of the country that don't have heavy illegal populations. So it's spreading out. We like to use the word, instead of illegal alien, we use the word foreign invaders. That's what we want to refer to them in the future. So we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with Voices of Global Freedom.
Stay with us, guys.
Voices of Global Freedom Magnified View. We want to tell you about one of our friends, ImpactAnalytics.com. Over to you, Yoda.
Tim Kalin, Chief Executive Officer of ImpactAnalytics.com in Florida, is an old personal friend. I worked with Tim after the embassy bombing, U.S. embassy bombing, and the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut. Take a look at his website, ImpactAnalytics.com. He has something for all the conservative patriots there, and you don't want to miss it, including for you folks out there like our last caller that runs a blog that has a lot of email addresses. If you send them to Tim, he aggregates them. He merges them together, which commands a lot of corporate 500 advertisers. At the end of the month, Tim will send you a check. What's he up to lately back there?
A new website, punchingbagpost.com. I say again, punchingbagpost.com. It's a consortium of the best conservative news that's trending from all around the world. It has a fancy software background to it where it'll show an audience index and tells you what's really trending out there and what's the latest and greatest conservative news. Punchingbagpost.com.
Oh.
So Lady Michelle in the chat room, she agrees with us. She says that is exactly what they are. They're foreign invaders. So we've gotten a lot of thumbs up on that term. Kelly, what are some of the other things you're seeing in Texas that most Americans aren't hearing about?
Oh, gosh. Well, I don't see any help down here at the border. I know that while Camp Lone Star was going, one thing I did want to say is you guys mentioned the jihad training camps and to go to visit that website, and that was, I tried to write it down, terror something.
It's www.terrorcamps, one word, terrorcamps.com. So it's terrorcamps.com.
Terrorcamps.com, yeah. And anyways, so those are being allowed to thrive here in Texas, while at the same time our militias are being maligned and attacked like we're the bad guys. I'm getting really tired of that. Now, I've done some research on that, and that's something that came down, and it includes Ruby Ridge, Waco, Oklahoma City bombing, any number of the school shootings, and it's called Operation PATCON. And what they're using against us is something called the strategy of tension, where they are winding us up until somebody finally snaps and they have an excuse to come down and kill us. The horrible, terrible patriots. My friend Casey right now is locked up in Brownsville when the militias are being attacked by the federals. When the militias are the ones who are going to be the ones to come out and save everybody's butts. Now, DHS has received how many billions of dollars to secure the border? Okay, well, if the top advisors of the Department of Homeland Security follow Mohammed, exactly whose homeland are they securing anyways? Is one question I have. But, okay, the federal government owes Texas a lot of money because we have had to put in a lot of our own money to do what little we've been able to do. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, we should just go ahead and put a lien on DHS toys and use those to secure the border. But that's just me.
How's the Texas National Guard doing on the border?
Nothing that I have seen. In fact, when Governor Perry first sent them down here, we caught a bunch of them on the food stamp line. They had to get food stamps. They hadn't even been supplied with food or gas or money or anything. They were just, it was awful. It was a joke. It was embarrassing.
We've seen that also, believe it or not, with federal agents. They get out of federal academies. They're assigned to major offices. New York.
That's very simple. We've got oath keepers and then we've got oath breakers. That's the federals, because I've met some of those boys out there, Department of Homeland Security, working the border. Well, I'm out there wandering on a dirt road out by the border, and they're just as polite as could be. They could be my sons. Howdy, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. And they open the gate so I can continue on my way. And this is it would probably be suspicious circumstances. But, I'm saying these are nice kids. And they love America. There's two kinds of them, the federals. You got your oath keepers and your oath breakers. That's all it breaks down to, that easy. That simply.
We need you in the future for our eyes and ears down there, gal. Do you hear?
The other thing is they're like, they tell our border patrolmen, don't fire at them, don't fire at them. Okay, well, not long ago in Laredo, we had a helicopter shot at several times. I believe it got hit twice. And then before that, right here behind me in Rincon Peninsula, we were taking 50 caliber fire from the other side of the river. Okay, now those are acts of war. And when they're crying and saying, oh, well, they're only throwing rocks at our border patrolmen, that is wrong. They are catapulting objects at our patrolmen. One of our people who were down here just patrolling the border, a civilian, was hit with must have been a 1 pound, 2 pound ball bearing. They catapult them. Like with rubber tire, the rubber from a tire.
Yeah.
They'll catapult them. It broke 3 of his ribs, busted up his spine, his spleen. He was in the hospital for a long time. They're not just throwing rocks at us.
Bullets actually came in from Ciudad Juarez. They actually came into the El Paso City Hall and to a university there. Shots fired out of Juarez. A lot more going on than anybody knows. So we're glad to have you as our eyes and ears.
Yeah, we appreciate all the callers today. We've had great information. We just got another caller, area code 682. You want to go ahead and speak your mind?
Stryker, just standing by, enjoying the show.
Hey, great time to call in. We're talking a lot about the U.S.-Mexican border. We've got one lady on the border about 10 miles from Texas-Mexico border. Another gentleman has a blog. How are you doing, brother?
Doing well, brother. How is everyone?
Good.
We just had the good General Vallely on. I got to make sure I pronounce it right. And he really gave us a lot of great intel about the latest going on. And we've had a lot of really great callers today.
Major General Paul Vallely, one of the finest, most definitely. And, of course, I'm sure you guys were very pleased at the incidents in Dallas, or the incident in Dallas that went down, and how victorious Dallas PD was in that affair.
How close are you to that, Stryker?
Oh, as the crow flies, let's just say that I could get there. I could get there in fairly short notice. This happened a little bit, near the downtown area, and then went out towards a little east towards a place called Hutchins. I think that's where the incident ended, in a fast food parking lot. And of course, that gentleman, he had never. I shouldn't say he had never had problems with the law. He had actually quite a few problems. In fact, he was such character, he beat up his own mother. And but unfortunately for him, he went down in a hail of bullets, and deservedly so.
You're our closest source with that. For audience benefit, Stryker on the phone with us heads up a new but powerful syndicate of radio stations. It's called Leading Edge Radio. Will you tell our audience a little? Stryker's a personal friend of ours. Tell us a little about that, if you will, Stryker.
Oh, I'll be happy to. Thank you. Leading Edge Radio Network is just like Yoda and Backpack, very concerned about what's going on in our nation. So when we formed the network just a little over 2 years ago now, our specific intent was to keep people informed and entertained, and do so in such a way where we promote faith, family, and freedom. And as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, our faith, family, and freedom are clearly under attack. Particularly concerned about all these racially motivated incidents that have come up recently, such as the one in McKinney, Texas, about an hour plus from there, somewhere in that vicinity. Don't want to be too specific, but, from our offices, it's not more than 45 minutes. Actually, it's probably more like 30 minutes, but just so many things happening out there in our nation today. And the whole premise behind the Leading Edge Radio project was to bring great programs and hosts such as Backpack and Yoda and Voices of Global Freedom to our network, so that everyone who has an ear to hear and a voice to speak, who cares about the nation, would do more than just apathetically say, "Oh, wow, the nation's going to hell. Oh, gosh, I wish somebody could do something about this." Well, you know what? It's not just Yoda and Backpack and Stryker or Major General Vallely. We need everybody. We need everybody that cares, and everybody that loves veterans and loves freedom and loves God and loves the nation, the things that this country was built upon. We need people to get involved. And, as much as we all love Fox News and Fox Radio and all the personalities on there, they're doing their part by entertaining some of the people. But we've got to do more than just, be on the couch. We have to make sure that we are actively engaging those people who need to be actively engaged.
It's great to always have you call in, Stryker. You're always welcome. I have to give a real quick crow story because it just happened when Yoda and I were on patrol. Or a true story. It's pacadote, which is really an antidote, but we were on patrol. We get back to the car, and I see these mysterious berries hitting the roof of the car, and I can't figure it out for the life of me. I'm just looking everywhere. I'm like, what's up with these berries? They were just landing all over the place. It sounded like grenades landing on the top of the car. And lo and behold, I look up, and a crow is eating these berries on a tree right above the car, and it's just dropping berries left and right. I love that expression, though, where the crows fly. I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee originally, and that's one of my favorite expressions. But we were really hit by berries by this crow.
We survived we survived the border, Stryker, but some crow almost kicked our ass.
Nothing worse than being taken out by a crow. Now, I've heard people being taken out by Jim Crow.
Right.
Was that the Jim Crow law or was that the booze? I'm not sure which. Anyway, we won't go there. But yeah, things are definitely. All you have to do is look around today, and if you're not careful on social media, you can find yourself backpack. You know all about social media. You're one of the nation's and probably world's foremost experts in social media. But you say the wrong thing out there that doesn't meet with the politically correct agenda. You can find yourself the subject of major scorn or major threats, like that poor guy over in McKinney who just kind of got himself in trouble and ended up with death threats. Why? Well, because he told people that that the officer was arresting the young lady, and in the attempt of putting her in those handcuffs, she was resisting arrest, being verbally uncooperative, let's say. I won't say abusive. The officer did come on a little strong. I'm sure even Yoda would ascribe to that. But when you're the only guy that shows up and there's 100 people out there dancing and prancing around, and then those two young people that the attorney tried to make out like were just perfect little citizens who were taunting the officer and charging him. Yoda, I want to ask you a police officer question. Are you prepared to answer this?
I am good to go.
All right, here we go. If you had been the arresting officer who was attempting to get the scene under control, and you are on one knee and you're in the process of putting one cuff on the young lady who is resisting, and you see a couple of these clowns shucking and jiving, moving towards you in a manner in which one of those guys on the far left of the videotape has his hand behind his back and then makes a threatening move, and they are just literally up in your face, are you going to leave your service weapon holstered?
No, thank you kindly. Back to the academy, you're trained in weapon retention or keeping a hold of your gun. An astounding number of American cops are shot with their own gun taken away from them. I don't want to quote the current percentage, but it's been as high as 20% of coppers are killed with their gun taken away from them. So we're trained, and we train officers in gun retention or weapons retention, as happened in Ferguson. The training it's to get the gun in your hand. Otherwise,
everybody would notice, and I'm sorry to mean to interrupt you, Yoda, but I think everybody that looked at that video that had an ounce of sense would say that officer never pointed that weapon at those two young men and did not have his finger on that trigger. He did everything by the book, yet he's the one that ends up having to resign from his job and now most likely moving from the community and being under constant threat by a lot of knuckleheads.
Well, you're not hearing it anywhere. You saw it in Ferguson. If the gun's in your holster, probably your right side, When threatened, you're going to put your right hand on the gun to retain it. This leaves your right side open and vulnerable. What happened to the officer mounted in his car in Ferguson is he did exactly that, and he took a couple heavy hits from the perpetrator down there while his right side was exposed. So thank you for the opportunity, brother. I've not heard weapon retention anywhere on Fox or anywhere else. All they focus on is and they're lying about it, that he pointed the gun at people, which he didn't. Had the two little bastards blindsided me, I promised the gun would have been in my hand by my right side, and the little bastards would have been neutralized. I've of course done exactly that. So also I'm disappointed. Fox has had several cops on, and no one has mentioned weapons retention. It's a basic part of primary academy training for all cops. Why these cops on Fox haven't brought that up, I have no idea. Maybe
well, I don't
they
know.
got...
It's almost like Mark Furman went soft on us, you know? I mean, he...
Yeah, well, he did.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe he was...
For a while, he was favoring he was literally almost trying to say that the police officer was wrong for what he did, and that's not Mark Furman, not the Mark Furman I knew.
Well, maybe he's been a plush detective too long and now a celebrity too long. He's certainly forgotten his academy.
Very good.
You were out there on the street with these savages. You've got to win, or they will get your gun and kill you with it. So everybody knows that. But I'm not hearing it anywhere. I appreciate your providing me the opportunity of explaining it. It's called gun retention.
Absolutely, and it's one we will not forget. And I think that's why so many officers are injured in the course of duty, as you just mentioned, throughout the year and throughout times past. Because just because you have an assailant with a knife doesn't make him any less dangerous. In fact, if he gets within, 20 feet of you, that's too close if he's holding a blade. Reaction times being what they are. But I can say this much. Our network very soon, Leading Edge Radio Network, will very soon be doing a video news channel, which we hope Magnified View, Backpack, Yoda, that you guys will be providing us, just as you are now, some great, great news. But as we do this in video and with our law enforcement radio network and hopefully a law enforcement video channel, it will make the bad guys very, very upset, and it will make the politically correct people just wilt like a wallflower.
We love it. Backpack and I teach law enforcement. From 21 feet, he has a rubber knife so I don't get cut up. I have a pistol. He attacks me with a knife, pretend knife, from 20-odd feet. Knife wounds are often a lot worse than bullet wounds, which the public seldom understands. They're simply bigger and deeper often. He gets to me, mind you, Backpack's in good shape, and he's a young guy and fit. He gets to me in a little over a second from 20 feet.
Yeah, these are the types of things we're not hearing on Fox News, and we're really honored and privileged to be working with Stryker, and definitely want to take you up on the video channel. That's exciting. All the different things that you're doing with Leading Edge Radio Network. It's a great honor and privilege to be working and syndicated with Leading Edge Radio Network. We're getting a lot of people from the great state of Texas, including Stryker. We have one person on, Kelly is online, and she is right there in McAllen, Texas. I wanted to ask you, Stryker, she's about 10 miles from the border. Do you have any questions for her?
Oh, absolutely. In McAllen, have you noticed any more or any less presence of law enforcement down along the border?
My city is very nice and calm. I have been out towards Anzalduas, and yes, there's a very nice presence all along Military Highway, out by Mission, Anzalduas Park. But as far as Brownsville, it seems to be wide open. There's a lot of crime going on. We've also had some instances of home invasions and carjacking. A lot of this stuff doesn't even make the news. I hear by it just by accident, and I believe me, I try my best to stay away from rumor and gossip. But when the guys were out at Camp Lone Star protecting Rusty's property there, crime rate fell in Brownsville like 70%. I mean, it dropped almost completely off. But you guys were talking about the jihad training camps. Why do they get to train on American soil while our American militias are being maligned by the federal government? Oh, you're a bunch of racist, hate-based, redneck, blah, blah, blah. Okay? That's the heartbeat of America. Those boys.
I like
and girls.
Backpack and Striker. She's one of a kind. Any news that you have that you ever want to pass our way, consider Leading Edge Radio Network to be.
Well, you know, and it's hard not to get bamboozled too, because there's so much misinformation, so much disinformation, and that's part of the strategy too, is so that you'll pass up on something that even though it's unbelievable, it's really happening. You know, but
are you getting a lot of activity? A lot of air activity of basically unmarked helicopters or airplanes. Now, some of those could be our very own Department of Public Safety.
Well, I'm used to those guys flying over, and no, there's not a lot of crazy helicopter activity. I would know it. They fly right over me all the time. But yeah, Cameron County, that's Brownsville. There's a lot of corruption down there. I'm in Hidalgo County. That's Sheriff Garrett. Cameron is Sheriff Lucio. And then over in Laredo is Webb County, and you got Sheriff Cuellar. And what's happening is these are all old, influential Mexican families. Okay, and they're all intertwined. They are, the sheriffs are related to the Congress, who are related to the senators, who are related to the judges, who are related. Okay, so let me put it to you this way. We've already lost the southern tip of Texas.
Wow.
Not surprising. As a matter of fact, I had heard the other day and seen some very, very concrete video evidence that, and I don't recall what the source was from, might have even been Fox, that many of the banks down there were closing due to the fact that there was so much laundering and corruption that the banks were actually forced to close.
Well, my last sheriff is sitting in prison right now for narco trafficking and money laundering, along with 10 of his crew that were on his team. You guys maybe heard of it, the Panama Unit scandal or something like that. And then my new sheriff, he's under the interim under investigation for bribery. They went ahead and voted him in. So, I mean, it's just never ending. And he's cousin to my district representative. So, you know, I'm the Lone Ranger. Lone Ranger.
You are our eyes and ears.
Yeah.
The general had a good border solution, didn't he, Backpack?
Yeah, the general solution is to build a 20-kilometer no-go zone on the Mexican border between Mexico and the United States. So basically anything in that is going to get destroyed. And that is a solution. What are your thoughts, Stryker?
Well, of course, you know, it would help if this administration would untie the hands of U.S. Customs and Border, ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, and the other agencies who are working along our borders, U.S. and Mexican borders, it would be very helpful if we could basically apprehend whether that's those that are already here or those that are in the process of coming here. I don't believe from a fiscal dollar standpoint that it would break the bank to send them all back, whether it be by plane, train, or automobile. If you start adding up all the ones that are here, and then you start counting up the benefits. See, a plane ticket, even if you flew them back first class, if you flew them back first class, fed them well before they left, gave them a gift card, and told them never to return, that would still be a whole lot less money than paying them retroactive $24,000 in taxes that they never paid over a 4-year period, $6,000 a year, EBT card benefits, other welfare, TAMP, and some of these other benefits that they pay these folks. I mean, my understanding is that they can come in and suck the system down to about $95,000 a piece, and I'm not so sure that includes the $24K. So they've gotten on the gravy train, and they don't want to get off. So I really, any Congress critter or other legislator who says, "Oh, it's too expensive to, send these folks back home," they're full of crap, because it's not. No, it's a lot cheaper. We've got many airlines. We have government airlines even that can send these folks back, and whether they send them back via parachute with or without, or just get them back where they belong. I guess I'm starting to sound like a little bit of a racist. I'm not a racist. I'm a realist. If they keep letting these folks in here and all paying them $95,000 a piece, the balloon's going to pop sooner or later.
Here's a thought for you. Take a look at the magnifiedview.com, an article, Cultures Clash, Civilizations Crash. Excuse me. People make a fortune on illegals. Look at all the bureaucrats that are employed to goof around with illegals. City, county, state, and enormous federal levels. Look at the charities that exist only because of illegals. Look at the clinics, the free clinics that exist only because of illegals. Look at a lot of churches that exist only because of illegals. There is a huge gray and black market that exists only because of illegals. Attorneys, of course, more than one would think, exist solely because of illegals. Teachers, my word, the education system is paid handsomely for each and every illegal that they pretend to teach. Some of these organizations, including the teachers' union, have a really powerful lobby in D.C. They're lobbying back room and behind the scenes to keep the damn border open. So far, it's working for them. So people seldom address that. We all say Democrats want illegals for votes, which they, of course, do. We say that Republicans want illegals for cheap labor. Other than agriculture and a couple select industries, I don't see big industry employing illegals. I don't see General Motors or whoever, Coca-Cola, employing illegals. Nonetheless, take a look, please, at that article, Cultures Clash and Civilizations Crash, on the magnifiedview.com, and you will see a compelling financial reason why the border is still open.
I look forward to looking at that article and certainly wholeheartedly advocate that everybody else reads it too and that you pass it on to your friends. I'm absolutely frightened when I go to whether it's to my favorite pizza shop, and you've seen those car magazines, right, that are free at the little stand, and you read them, and there's all these ads for all these cars, I noticed something very, very interesting, and I saw an ad in there the other day. It says, here's 15 cars on this one page, and it says no credit check, and of course it's written in Spanish also, and then it says no driver's license necessary. Now wait a minute, hang on a second. All right, how do you buy a car? How do you qualify to buy a car without a driver's license? And then you see these ads for insurance in the same magazine. No money required. Really? How does that work?
You've hit me. You've hit me close to home, Stryker.
I'm sorry. I mean, I do love you. You know that. But, I mean, and this is not prearranged. Go ahead.
I've met hundreds in new cars without a driver's license, insurance, or registration. And I've honestly never been able to figure out how the hell they get them.
Well, and you know what? They're not driving junk cars, are they, Chief? I mean, they're driving, we're talking brand new Escalades and other sport utility vehicles and we're talking things you can put a lot of Bambinos and a lot of crew or cargo or whatever else you're hauling, legal or illegal, in there, and they just, some of the watches, you see some of the wonderful watches these guys are wearing. I mean, gosh, if we're not careful, we're going to end up with a class envy situation here.
While in the performance of our duties, Backpack and I recently visited a free clinic. We arrived there in a rather new, nice Buick, and we were laughed at because of the high-end luxury cars that were filling the park, weren't we, Roy?
Yeah, that's right. Our boards are lighting up, and we're getting a lot of great chats. Lady Michelle and the Texas Tiger, I really appreciate Kelly calling in, and Stryker and all the other people. Common Sense blog. It's been a great to have all this. I wanted to, Kelly has brought up a strategy here. We do have another caller out of Atlanta. I believe it's another good friend that we have. Area code 404. How's it going? Welcome to Voices of Global
How's it
Freedom.
going? Hello,
hey, great
guys.
to hear from you. We call you Garbo. Everybody has a nickname. Garbo, say hello to Stryker, our other friend. I don't think the two of you have had a chance to talk.
Hello, Stryker.
Hello, how are you?
I'm excellent. I'm riding with no safety belt. If you heard that buzzing noise in the background, please ignore that.
Great to hear. So our audience knows Garbo is the Chief Executive Officer, President of TopTalkRadio.com. Wonderful, wonderful website. Please go check out TopTalkRadio.com. It's 100% conservative, patriotic. And our portraits are on there, including Stryker with Leading Edge Radio Network. And Garbo does a lot to help our republic and save our country. How are you doing, Garbo?
Oh, thanks. I'm doing okay. You guys doing pretty good. You sound nice and loud and clear.
Great.
Garbo, I am worried now, okay, because you've come on, and yes, thank you so much for having Leading Edge as one of those top talk networks on your class of distinction, your wall is what I call it.
No worries.
After you've just heard me say what I said, I will probably never make that top 100 broadcasters now, will I?
I think you're already on there, aren't you?
Yeah, he's
on there. I don't know if I'm
there
individually. I think I'm there for the network, but I don't. After you just heard what I said individually, I may not ever make that top 100.
Oh, no worries. I thought you were there already. I got to look into that for sure. I wasn't aware of that. So you're just listed as a network, not your. Maybe I couldn't get your picture. Something happened where I couldn't get your picture, or maybe I forgot to email you. So it's probably my fault.
Oh well, we won't point fingers here. I'll send you a handsome sombrero thank you from Texas. Now maybe I better not do that. Okay, I'll quit while I'm ahead.
Oh, awesome! I'll take anything.
We are so privileged, Backpack. Garbo has the finest conservative radio directory out there. Does he not?
Yeah, it's the greatest. Everybody, please check out www.toptalkradio.com. And it's a labor of love. Garbo's been doing this for how many years have you had this out here?
Probably since '07 when it was turning to '08.
It's a wonderful website, one of the best websites I've ever seen. I really mean that. And it's been great to work with Garbo and catch up on the latest. What's new in Atlanta?
Oh, not much. I'm really actually just, living quite the Brady Bunch life. A couple of young kids. I'm shopping. I'm in a parking lot waiting for my wife to come out. It's kind of a, not boring, but, it's not too exciting, kind of lifestyle. Unlike you single guys out there on the West Coast, I'm sure you're really having a great time out there.
That would be backpack. How's the daughters doing, brother?
Oh, they're doing great. What part of town is Stryker in?
I didn't hear him.
Oh, yeah, he's talking to Stryker.
Stryker is a Midwest. Where is he located?
Oh,
Stryker?
You want to know where Stryker's located?
Yeah, where's his? Yeah.
Stryker is always where you need him to be. Usually. Stryker, for some, Stryker is in the right place at the wrong time, wrong place at the right time. Stryker is in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Oh, nice. That's the heartland there. I tell you what.
We seem to have our share of trouble down here.
Texas is where it's at. I tell you what, that's going to be like the last refuge,
Did you hear the good general we had on, Garbo?
No, I did not. I've been out shopping, and I can't get you on this terrestrial radio, so I could not. What'd I miss?
Check our archives. It'll be up in a couple hours. Backpack will tell you about it.
One of the Major General Paul Evil Vallely, he broke a story that he wants to build a 20-kilometer area on the U.S.-Mexican border, make it a no-go zone where anything that goes in that area just gets destroyed. What are your thoughts about that, Garbo?
I think you should expand the area. I mean, he's a very, very conservative strategist. That's a great start.
We've joined forces with the good general. He's one of a kind. He's a soldier. He has an outfit called Stand Up America USA. He spends a lot of time often commuting to the Middle East. He's operated with a team in Syria since his retirement. He's active in Iraq and a true soldier. We're going to hook up with him to get him back on a scheduled, frequent basis. He needs to be on your directory now that I think about it, Backpack.
Yeah, he'd be great to have on your directory. We'll follow up later off air and talk about that when we have a free
I'd love to have him.
He was also former Special Operations head of Special Operations Command, too, during his active military days.
Yeah, that's right. At one time, he commanded over 100,000 troops. So we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Energy Efficiency Pros, EE Pros, solutions that save you money. Are you a commercial business looking to reduce costs on your energy bill? Replacing traditional light bulbs with LED results in tremendous savings every month. Commercial, industrial, and manufacturing facilities from coast to coast are saving up to 90% on their skyrocketing costs of energy. Energy costs are rising every month, but using EE Pros lighting saves money, time, and will bring you happier employees and customers. For a free audit and evaluation of your facility, contact or email Don Arrigo, president of EE Pros, at 480-585-9161, 480-585-9161. Tell Don that Backpack of Voices of Global Freedom Radio referred you. Yoda, have you had some experience with this?
I have. I talked with a hospital in Chicago and a large parking lot out west, I forget. They are saving an extraordinary 80+% on their energy bill month to month. The abomination promised boldly to keep raising energy till it's out of sight, and he's got it right. Energy's going up every month. And EE Pros has a way to save business and industry 80+%, amazing, on their bill.
Go visit www.eepros.com. I say again, www.eepros.com. We are back with Voices of Global Freedom, MagnifiedView.com, and I want to say thank you to Lady Michelle and the Texas Tiger. They're doing a lot to share the IQ Razuli video, which has gotten thousands of views on YouTube, and they really love that, and they're going to be Facebooking and Twittering that to all their networks. We really appreciate that. I'm glad Stryker and Garbo get a chance to talk to each other. Stryker, do you have any questions for Garbo?
Oh, I would say the one question I have for Garbo, well, actually the one accolade I have is, Garbo, you have assembled one of what I believe to be one of the finest websites in terms of the talent pool that you have amassed. Anyone who is on there certainly deserves to be there. Anyone who hasn't gotten there yet better work really hard to be there. But I will tell you on behalf of Leading Edge Radio Network to thank you personally for allowing our network to be mentioned with the names of the other networks that are there. That is a real honor, and we appreciate you. And having been to Atlanta a few times, Atlanta has some great things, some great, wonderful things. The varsity there, if you've never had, I'm sure, Garbo, you've probably had 1,000 hot dogs from the varsity, but for anybody that hasn't been there, you've got to go there. And it better still be there.
Yeah, it's still there, and thank you so much for all that. And you earned your spot for sure, believe me. And several others. I just wish I had, I wish I was retired already so I could just sit back and just keep it growing, but time is so limited, you know? So I wish I could just put more time into it than I have been the last 6 months, even to the last year. I just put very little into it, you know. But I'm just just today I spent an hour on it, and that's it. I just added one guest, one host, and I want to get going. You'll be my next project. Get the picture, the times, and that for you to go up there. And it's not really ranking, so don't worry if I put you in the last spot. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that it would take too long, and it would take too much time to put you up where you probably belong, which is way further up, you know?
Oh, you know what? That's how we rank our members too. I mean, we have our people on our air personality page. It's like I tell our staff the same way. We don't have 100, but it's certainly climbing on up there pretty good. And I've told everyone, I said, just because your picture isn't, on the top line doesn't mean that you're not, top shelf. So completely understand that. Had a question for you.
Sure.
What do you see the future of internet radio being as we move forward, assuming that, and I believe that we will have an election in 2016, and Lord willing, the right person will get in. But moving forward for internet radio, do you see a bright future for it?
I think it's right now. It's just too much available, and it's too scattered, and it's not concise. It's not easy enough for people to actually find easily. They just there's too much choice. I think I'm waiting for one internet broadcasting company. Some have tried it. They've tried to emerge as like the leader and carry all the big shows, and they actually hold. They have some pretty big syndicated shows, hosts on there. Like Barry Farber, people like that. They try to grab one big name, and they hope to rise to the top. It's not happening for anybody. I mean, there isn't a single conservative internet radio broadcasting service that's really emerged as the king, and everyone knows about it. That's where I see the future. I see maybe not a monopoly, but place for anybody that they want, to find that's conservative. And I just see that all over the map right now.
Yeah, we certainly hope to, with Leading Edge Radio Network, even though we're just 2 years old, our parent company, which I can't give you the name on air yet of the parent company,
Right.
only because we've got one Form 10 stock filing that needs to be completed, but we will be, in essence, kind of a public happening thing, on the markets. So we are moving toward that day where we will be adding some air personalities from some of the major networks who have retired, who are conservative. And so I would like to think at the end of the day, with some of the folks that we're working with who are coming on board and or in the process who are already on board, that we will emerge kind of outside the pack a little bit. So we're working really hard to be able to do that with some of our hosts. And here during this political season, we're really pleased to have people like, Larry Nichols from the Clinton Chronicles and Kathleen Willey and a host of others. So we're working hard, but it will be a marathon versus a sprint.
Personal story, Stryker. Garbo and I met a long time ago. His father and I served simultaneously in Germany during the occupation. Is that a small world story or what?
Meanwhile, small world. I was hoping you'd say maybe you met over a donut or something, but
you owe me donuts.
I do. Let's not talk donuts here. This could get expensive for me.
Garbo, I'm going to embarrass Garbo a little bit. He's quite a humble guy. He's got the finest damn directory known out there. I don't know how he does it. He operates a full-time business successfully, a small business, called, what is it, Russ?
Dirt Blasters.
Yeah.
Dirt
Blasters Carpet Cleaning.
Great website. And anybody in Atlanta, feel free to share it with your friends. www.dirtblasters.com. Great website and great service. So you keep them busy with Dirt Blasters?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm keeping covered up really big time. And what I'm trying to do is actually go to online sales like we talked about before. Something totally different. I'm hoping to, kind of wean off the carpet cleaning thing. It's quite a physical drain, let's put it that way.
Amazingly, Stryker and audience, he's raising 2 daughters. His wife's an IT executive. I don't know how these guys get it all together all the time. Do you, Becca?
Well, a large part of it is the microwave oven. Sometimes if it takes a minute and 30 seconds to cook a Egg McMuffin, we're upset. It's like, why isn't it 30 seconds? We don't like to wait anymore.
True.
We did get another caller, area code 956. I want to try to get this in as area code 956. Welcome to Voices of Global Freedom. Well, 956.
You with us?
Are you with us? Or
this is Kelly. I'm 956. Maybe I came back through or something.
Great to have you back. I've been reading the chats as they're coming out. There was a strategy. Did you want to talk more about this?
We would need a whole nother show for that. But yeah, I serve as a national coordinator for a group called Citizen Initiatives. What we do is we are advancing something called the Countermand Amendment. With the Article 5, the strategy is that 34 states can go around the U.S. Congress, courts, and executive branch. We don't need permission to do it. The states created the federals, not the other way around. The way it is now, the federals are like the spoiled kid telling the parents what to do. Okay, we created the federal government. 34 states, we want them to apply for the Countermand Amendment. It's a brilliant piece of legislation, and it's got an enforcement clause in it that allows the states to prosecute any federal violators of the article once it's ratified. It's very interesting. We at Citizen Initiatives have been working very, very diligently to get this important information into the hands of our state legislators, because they're the only ones that can help us here. Because under Article 5, they have the authority. So if we can get 34 states to apply for the same amendment, pre-approved, not written at the convention, pre-approved, the Countermand Amendment, get it pre-approved, We can go right on around the U.S. Congress, courts, and the executive branch and modify the behavior of the federal government. We can countermand the EPA ridiculous rules and regulations that are destroying our industry. We can countermand pretty much anything that 30 states decide they don't like. Bye-bye Obamacare.
Have you worked with the Convention of States? I'm hearing
we have tried to work with those guys. There is one difference, and that is that they feel the delegates need to write the amendment at the convention, whereas we feel the amendment needs to be, the text needs to be pre-approved by our state legislators before the delegate ever sits down at the table. Where the COS group thinks they're going to send in 500 guys who are going to sit down and write a remedy. And
please go ahead and send an email to yoda@magnifiedview.com. I say again, yoda@magnifiedview.com. It's been great having you, Kelly. And what are ways, how can our audience find you?
Oh, that's easy. Okay, we're at www.countermans.us.
All right, thank you so much for calling in. It's great to have you on Voice. Thank you.
Don't be a stranger.
Yeah, don't be a stranger. We're wrapping up time. We got about 8 minutes. Great to have Stryker and Garbo on
at the same time.
Yeah, I'm glad that you guys this is the first chance that you guys got to talk, and it's always great about working with you all. It's great, fellow conservative patriots. So, Garbo, do you have any questions for Stryker? We've got a few minutes.
No, that last caller was great. I wish her all the luck, and if I can help her out to the Georgia way, let me know. And Stryker, just keep, pumping away. You guys are doing an amazing job. Just don't give up. And thanks for doing what you're doing. It's God's work, and you know that. So keep the fight, keep it going. And I'm here on your side for you.
Thank you, Garbo, as well. And if by Monday I don't have one of your spots for carpet cleaning come across my email, I'm going to be very disappointed. I want to make sure that we help you get that word out there. So,
I don't want to be sent to the Russian front.
At your leisure, please do send it on, because we have a good fan base and great following in Georgia.
Awesome. It's great. It's a pleasure meeting you. It's an honor to have you guys on the site. So if you need anything, just feel free to email me, info@toptalkradio.com, and I'll get it, and we'll take care of business for you.
Thanks for all you do.
Likewise, appreciate all of what all of you do, guys.
Thanks for what you guys do, and moreover, the way you do it. I want to come to a near end here. We are so proud to be hooked up now with the good General Vallely. Did I pronounce it right?
Vallely.
Vallely. Anyway,
we'll work on that.
He is an amazing soldier. We're working with his Stand Up America USA. Take a look at that website. We're going to have him on a scheduled basis frequently.
Dang is on a mission.
He's a guy that does something about something. He's one of those guys. We really need to be with him.
Well, we promised we were going to play the national anthem. We got the time, so we have interviewed the national anthem girl. She performed in over 50 states, and it wasn't a cul-de-sac with 5 people. It was actually at 50,000 people stadiums, the Tennessee Titans, all over the country, all the beloved country, and Coast Guard cutters, major events that she did. And it took her years and years of labor of love, and we're honored that we got to meet her recently at Starbucks and hear her. But without further ado, sing along with the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and look, it's regular, the guns burn.
can't stand that way. Present. Huh. I want to go join something. How in the world could the President of the United States, Obama, want to change that? Him saying it sounds too military. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, we can't believe that Obama wants to change the national anthem to the United Nations theme song, whatever that is, some Mickey Mouse song.
That's we give up, we surrender is what they call it.
Yeah, there is a famous statue in front of the United Nations where that's a whole other conversation, but they have a giant picture of a gun with the barrel all twisted and wrapped so that obviously you couldn't use the gun. But we've had Larry Pratt on, who is the main lead of the Gun Owners of America, and we support him, and the National Rifle Association. We are huge Second Amendment gun rights, part of Voices of Global Freedom, MagnifiedView.com, that everybody has the right for their Second Amendment and their First Amendment. We had John Ritzheimer, a great show on last week. Please get a chance to check that out. It's on our YouTube and also as well on syndicated all over the place, including Leading Edge Radio Network. It was great having him on, and we gave him really what went on. And that whole thing, he's getting millions of listens and views by what he did at the Phoenix Mosque. But unfortunately, a lot of the 75% of the liberal had a whole slant on it. We just got about a minute left. Stryker, what was your thoughts on John Ritzheimer's?
John's take on his program? I'll tell you what, it was spot on. Anytime you undertake something of that magnitude, as you know, you've got to make sure that you have security in place, because when you go and you put yourself out there, you better be ready for the threats. And I think that would be John Ritzheimer's show that he did with you guys, which we've been running on the network all week long, has just, it's lit the boards up. It's going to continue to light the boards up. Once you decide to get in the fight, as once you get in, you're there. Another book you might want to check, which I think is pretty cool, by Ray Hope and Al Cuppett, is called America Sold Out. Now, that book, yes, I know it came out September 2013, I believe. I'm sorry, September 2003. But you go read it. And in 2003, a lot of the things that were written in that book had not happened. So I don't normally recommend books, but this is one I recommend.
Say it again, Stryker.
The author is Ray Hope and Al Cuppett. Al was 19 years, if I remember correctly, Joint Service, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. He was also on the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He was an action officer. I believe he was the co-writer, technical writer, and it's called America Sold Out.
Thank you for being a friend. Thank Garbo, all the callers, all the people in the chat room. Please pass the word on us. Above all, thank Backpack for all his hard work.
God bless you all, and God bless America.